And we're live, brother.
Okay, brother. Little runners recap.
So, I'll walk you through my race real quick. My goal originally, a couple months ago, was to run a sub-3 marathon. But honestly, was not super focused on the marathon. So, coming off the 100-miler, the ultra we did about 10 weeks ago now, I had about a 3-week kind of recovery time period, at least. I might still be recovering from that run. But after that, I really focused more on building muscle. I was really focused on weightlifting. So I think if you check my Strava, like I can tell my time, and I also track all my lifts and stuff. So volume has increased significantly, and so has my intensity of training. So I've definitely just been eating more, lifting heavier, just going harder on the weights in general, rather than actually focusing on my running.
Trying to look like Natty Daddy.
So, but that's hard to do. It's hard to build muscle when you're in a marathon prep.
It definitely is.
So I think the most mileage I did in a week was only 45-ish. I'm also in Ironman prep, because I signed up for Ironman 70.3, which is in a month now. And
after the marathon in a month.
And I was doing a lot of biking and doing I was doing Jiu-Jitsu, a lot of other cardio sports. So I kind of tried something out where I was just falling back on my mileage, and I was doing less mileage per week. I mean, I knew my legs were adapted because of the 100-miler. But I was doing less mileage per week and just more high intensity running. So high intensity lifting, high intensity running. And then my zone 2 cardio was more of just biking and swimming, and I guess jiu-jitsu kind of. But that takes a toll on your body. So going into this race, I took the week pretty easy. So I felt pretty damn good going into the race. I knew I was that sub-3 was going to be a stretch. And I feel like, so I didn't hit sub-3. I got a 3:14 marathon, which is a huge PR for me anyways. But if I were to do another build, I feel like I could definitely get to sub-3.
I think you could too.
I don't know about qualifying for Boston, because apparently qualifying for Boston's 2:53, which is a whole lot faster. But with another build, I feel like I could definitely get there. I'm like on the edge. I'm like right there. I know I can run those miles. I can hold that pace. I helped it for 5 miles today. But with another build, I think I'll definitely get there.
I feel like with these runs too, like I didn't train like a whole lot for this run, but I felt like it was more mental. Like you had to have some grit, like just like grit the miles out.
Yeah, dude. When you get to, I mean, it's all subjective to like your experience level. It's like the same thing as like when you're going super hard and you get to mile 20 and you got 6 more miles to go, and that's when you know you got to drop the hammer. That's why I kept telling myself is drop the hammer, drop the hammer, drop the hammer. I didn't really drop the hammer. I didn't speed up at all, but I had nothing left in my tank. But when you get to that point where you're just hurting, it's just all mental. And you see all these guys that stop and walk.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I saw that a lot.
It's like, all right. I mean, you did all this training and you got here and now you're running and you're exactly at the point where you want to be, where you're hurting, you're 22 miles deep, and you're going to stop and give up and walk. And it's like you just spent months and money and traveled out here to walk. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, that's what was in the back of my mind. I'm like,
I'm
not going to walk.
Cramps
right
happen
now.
And stuff, but come on, push through. Just grit it out. You only got 4 miles, takes 30 minutes, so that's what I was thinking at the last few miles. I'm like, what are you guys doing? I did get passed, though, by a few people towards the end, so I can't really talk. But
I was definitely, like, talking to myself, motivating myself. I did it with no music, no podcast. My first long run and my first run ever without music or podcast. Dude, I'm just listening to the crowd. I'm like, dude, I gotta go.
I was so zoned in the whole time that
Me too. The crowd got hyped.
By the time like 13 miles came around so quick, and then by the time I got to like miles 20, 2022 is like that's when the real race started. That's when everything slowed down for me. I was like, just the whole race flew up to that point, and then I was ripping salt tablets. I felt my quad catch a little bit, felt some cramps coming on, but just did everything in my power. I hit every freaking water station there was.
Yeah,
so.
me too. And then every gel pack, I took like 4 of them. Then I tried them without water. Gosh, I almost threw up.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Definitely have to have.
I was using them though to wash my salt tablets down because I didn't have a water.
Weird taste.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I was ripping. I probably took like 5,000 milligrams of sodium today.
I felt like my nutrition was super good. Like, I did really well at when I needed to take the energy packs, like the energy gels, I took them. Then when the water station, I only grabbed 1 water. Then I only grabbed like a Gatorade every other one. And like I felt like my nutrition was pretty good, like for my first time ever.
Yeah. My nutrition was, well, my problem is I'm not like, I'm pretty immature. I'm an immature person when it comes to running. You can like tell.
Yeah, me
because
too.
I'm like screw it. I'll just sprint. I'll just run hard the whole time. And I think like you see these older guys that really like plan it out and are real like smart about it. They have the ability to be like, well, we're gonna like pace ourselves and like we'll still go hard, but it's gonna be, you know, smart running. Whereas I'll just go out hard and then I won't consume anything and I'll just be focused on running. I'm like, screw it, I don't need it. Until you do need it, and now you're behind the curve. So today I think I did a real good job. I was real smart with my running. When I needed to slow down, I guess I came out too hot. I wanted to see if I could run with the sub 3 guys for a little bit. But so I ran with them for about 5 miles and then fell back and slowed myself down, knowing that I couldn't hold that for 26 miles. But I did a great job with my nutrition, gels, tablets. At aid station, I was hitting waters, something I definitely didn't do last marathon. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, shout out to Cameron for that trick. You turn the cup and drink.
Yeah, I used that. Like, I was double fisting waters, doing the trick. Like, I would take a water. God, I splashed the shit out of the ladies working the stand, though. I would grab a water and I'd just freaking slap it like right at them on accident. Did that a couple times.
Yeah, before this, like on my long runs and like when I'd go for a run, I'd grab like a 16-ounce bottle of water. I'm like, all right, I'm going to run. I'm like, dude, that's not a smart way to run. Like, put some electrolytes in.
You need electrolytes. You need carbs.
Get some gel packs.
And I think carbs are very important too. Like I guess for an ultra marathon, it's different because you can get away with being fat adapted, where you just let your body use fat as fuel. But when you're trying to run these tempo workouts and just real high intensity running, you definitely need those carbs to burn off. It's the quicker fuel source. Also, I think another thing with those tempo runs and the training leading up to this marathon was that I could have done better. Was I could have went into them more recovered. So I'm always overtraining. Like,
yeah,
that's another thing I just need to get better at, not overtraining. But when I went into these long workouts, my legs would be sore and I wouldn't feel my best. Like I'd hammer a leg session and be like, screw it, I'm gonna go run a tempo workout and run like 20 miles. But that's just not realistic. I think the next time I run a marathon, I'll be real focused on maybe just one leg workout a week, and then when I go to run my tempo workouts, I want to make sure like the day before I'm fueling up, I'm real recovered, I'm not blasting my central nervous system with like heavy deadlifts and stuff like that. So
that's a mistake I made too. Like a couple days ago, I was like deadlifting super heavy. I'm like, then yesterday my legs started to hurt. They felt better today.
I actually tried to max my deadlift this week. So
only max deadlift, and then it's like, yeah, I got a marathon Sunday.
My deadlift's getting pretty strong, so
my deadlift
I was like, screw it.
too.
I maxed on Tuesday though, and then the rest of the week I pretty much recovered. Just took it real easy. I just did like when I went to the gym, I was just doing like curls and triceps, just easy shit.
What helps you get through the marathon?
So I think just staying focused on the mile I'm in. I wasn't like looking at the whole length of the race. I was really just like present throughout the whole run. Like I was just in flow state the entire time. I felt really good. I was really happy that my legs felt solid, and really just making sure I was holding that. Like I wanted to keep under a 7:30 pace, which I did. I came in with a 7:23 pace at the end of the race. So yeah, I was just real focused, like zoned in on racing the race.
And then you were looking for other people, like people that you know, as you were like cutting the corners, like one group would be coming this way.
I was looking for you, Ethan.
Yeah, I was doing the same thing. I was looking
my dad.
For familiar faces.
At one point, I passed my dad, and he was like, "How you feeling?" And I'm just like, "Whoa!" Like, I was pretty stoked. Like through half, I was pretty stoked, and then the pain started setting in, and then I think you kind of start to have this battle with doubt, which, I mean, that definitely happened for me.
Oh, your mom did it. And we're back.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah, when you get to, like, those later miles, though, I don't know if this happened to you at all, but, like, I know this happened. Every race I've ran, every training I've done, every training block I've done for the ultra, for marathons and the Ironman, it's like you get to that point where you just have, like, doubt. So do you ever, let me ask you this, do you ever encounter doubt in when you're running or when you're training? Do you ever have like these moments? I guess, and you could apply this to wrestling too. You ever have these moments like, I'm not good enough, and like,
yeah, all the time.
I'm not going to be able to do this.
All the time. So like, everyone has doubt, and I feel like you always think about it too. And you're like, what if I fail? Like, what if I fail me, or what if I fail like other people? Then you start doubting, like, you're like, can I actually win this match? Can I actually finish this race? Can I actually do this? And then when you, like, have grit, and I feel like grit has helped it, you're like, oh, I can beat this guy. Like, you start to get more confident. Like, the more matches you win and, like, the more harder stuff you do and the harder training you do, you just get more confident. Like, the doubt starts to, like, go away from the hard training.
So how I'd apply that to like ultra running and endurance training is, I guess, how I sort of got my start in these endurance events. It's like I got presented the opportunity. My dad's like, "Hey, you want to run a marathon?" I'm like, I can run a fucking marathon. I do that shit, right? So like I kind of have like this edge about me where I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. And then you go,
that's 26 miles.
It's time to train for it. And you're like, I have to run 20 miles today. Or when we went and did the 100 mile, it's like, okay, so my weekend would be like this. When we were training for the 100 miler, I would go run like 25 miles in the woods Saturday. And then the next day, and that would take, it was during the winter, so that would take all of the sunlight hours. So it was miserable. Like, you'd go bright and early, dark out, run until dark. And then the next day you have to do it again. That was by far like the most extreme like self-doubt I've ever had in my life.
I bet.
And I think when you're sitting there at like the trailhead and you're just like, what the fuck? Like, I have to do this. Like, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm going to die out there. Like, this doesn't even make sense. It's literally just like setting the ball in motion, like getting moving, just like stepping out of the car and getting started on the run. But what I was saying with how I got into endurance training, it's like I have this like ego about me where I'm like, yeah, I can do that shit. That's easy. And then it's another thing to like actually go and do it. And then you get there, and I think by preparing, doing all the work ahead of time, so actually doing your marathon training and getting to the starting line and getting into the race, you've been there before because you've prepared for it in practice. So it's like you're training so hard. Same thing with jiu-jitsu and wrestling. It's like we're training so hard and going every like possible scenario that when we actually get to game time, it's like, oh, I've been here before.
I feel the same way.
And it's the same thing with running. When you get into those late miles and you're suffering, and it's like, Well, I've been in a lot worse pain.
Yeah.
Like, especially after running the 100-miler and then going and running a marathon, it's like, well, I hurt really bad right now, but I've hurt a lot worse before. So it's like, it's all about preparation.
That's what helped me push through it and like push through the doubt. Like I've been in worse pain. Like pain is like it's a cliche, but pain is temporary. But I truly believe that. Like pain, only lasts for so long, but like how you feel after lasts way longer than the pain.
Yeah, and that's true with like anything you're trying to achieve. Whether it's like sports or it's like you take that and apply it. I think what I should do in my life is take it and apply like my work ethic towards like endurance training, where I'm like spending way too much time training, and apply it to some other areas in my life, and maybe make some money or something. But like
keep doing what you're doing.
You do this. You take it, and it's like an entrepreneurship where you go with like this through this real rough phase. But that's like kind of the beauty of it. Is like that's like the story where you're going through all this pain and suffering to build this beautiful thing at the end. And it's that's like the 100-miler. Like, why is it so cool? Because I have so many cool stories of just sucking. Just it was awful.
Yeah, it was awful. It was
awful. It was awful and beautiful at the same time. And that's what's awesome about it.
It's half and half. Love, hate. And I feel like that's with everything. You love it. Like some people love to suffer, but I feel like after the suffering, then you feel like the emotions of the suffering. Like, dude, I feel good.
If you suffer, if you self-inflict suffering, you don't really suffer at the will of other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So you'll never be like harmed by other things in life if you're just self-suffering.
If you're unbreakable,
yeah,
how can like somebody break you?
Yeah.
Like, you have that in the back of your head. You're like, we've done jiu-jitsu competitions, did the half marathon and the marathon and stuff like that. Like, hard stuff that not everybody does.
Mm.
And we thrive to do it more.
And it's like I've ran on just legs that don't work and just been through so much like pain in these events that when it comes to like you got to do a homework assignment for like 3 hours, it's like not the end of the world. You know what I'm saying?
All right,
a lot of college students will like break down and like crumble to a big assignment, and for me it's just like okay, I don't even stress over it.
Like, it's not 20 miles.
Yeah.
It's a homework assignment that I can sit down.
I get to sit down and chill for a little bit.
I feel like that applies very well. Like, you see a lot of successful people, they do hard shit. They run, they work out, they do jiu-jitsu, they wrestle. A lot of, like, successful people do hard stuff to thrive, like, to help with their everyday lives. And I feel like you see that a lot, like, a lot of the people making a lot of money, a lot of the like professional athletes, obviously, they're just working their ass off, and then everything else in life it's not easy, but it's not as hard. It's not beating up your body. It's like small stuff.
With that being said, though, I am kind of a junkie for like beating up my body.
Me too for sure.
4 hours a day, 5 training sessions. Jiu-jitsu, biking, swimming, running, lifting. With that being said, I think there's a lot to improve on in terms of intentionality with my training to be the best I can be, and I think part of that is focusing on one thing at a time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I believe I could have done a whole lot better in this marathon had I just focused on the marathon. Not saying I don't have to not lift weights at all, but I want to run this marathon sub 3, and I also want to deadlift 450 pounds. So it's like...
That's just the championship mindset that I have, and I can tell that you obviously have it too. Like, everything you do, you want to be either the best or close to the best at it. You want to be like a power lifter, lift heavy shit, and you also want to like get sub 3. You want to
that's why I love
get better at jiu-jitsu.
That's what I love about hybrid training. Like I enjoy challenging and pushing my body. And like I said, I'm a junkie for suffering and and
Me too.
just working out is just putting my body through it. But I also want to be great at something. So it's like at a certain point, you kind of have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
Like for you, that's like wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Like that's your thing. And then second to that is like running and lifting. You know. Whereas for me, I'm like all in on everything all the time. Not saying you're not all in, but you know.
I'm definitely not as hardcore like running and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that's something I should be working on, is just focusing, putting my eggs in one basket at a time. You know?
I get that. Because I want to get super good at jiu-jitsu. Then I want to get super good at wrestling. Then I want to get
Well, it's like the same
better.
thing that you can apply that to martial arts too. Is like you see all these guys coming up, and they'll do training blocks where they just focus on one thing at a time. So it's like these 3 months I'm going to focus on jiu-jitsu. These 3 months I'm going to focus on kickboxing, Muay Thai. It's just if you put all focus on one thing at a time, you're just gonna be that much better. You'll be the best in the world. And that's like what John Danaher says, is that you can be good at everything, but you have to be great at one thing. If you want to be the best in the world, you have to be good at everything, but you need to be great at one thing.
That's well said.
So
speaking about beating our bodies up, we plan on doing the Murph tomorrow. Speaking of not getting recovery or anything.
yeah, Murph shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah. The worst part's going to be the running, even though it's 2 miles. But that's 28.
We'll probably just
28 miles for you.
take it super easy.
15 miles for me in 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah, my legs are beat up, dude. I can
Mine
barely
too.
walk.
Going downstairs and upstairs.
What else did I want to talk about?
Yeah, shout out to the cops on the horses.
The cops on the horses, baby. I should drop that video. I'll just plug it in.
Find the cop with the horse. At him right now. So talk a little more about, like, I don't know that much about the triathlon, well, the Ironman that you're doing. So what is that?
So I'm doing the Ironman 70.3 in Quebec, Canada.
Canada.
That'll be, I believe it's 1.2 mile swim. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. 56 mile bike and a half Ironman. And so in the next coming weeks, I'm going to be focusing a lot on the bike because that's kind of my weakness right now, the bike and swim. So I'm going to be putting a shitload of miles on the bike. Like, I really want to just hammer the bike. My goal right now is sub 6 hours.
That's a good goal.
That's just a general, like, idea, because that's what I looked up, like, what's a good time for an Ironman. They said sub 6 hours. So I'm like,
what's a good time for a sub?
I did. That's exactly what I did. But I think that's doable for me, and that's, like, right to the point where it's challenging. It's challenging, and it's but it's not out of reach. It's very possible. The only thing I'm worried about, I think the swim, I'll be fine. The bike, though, I could fall behind quite a bit on my time, just because I think I have the endurance for it, and I'll obviously build endurance on the bike as we go. But the bike, my bike kind of sucks. It's not as fast as other people's. I mean, that could be an excuse. I've never rode other people's bikes, but dude, they make it look freaking effortless.
No, like your dad was saying, some people drop 10 G's for the bike.
Yeah.
That's a car payment.
My bike's not that expensive. So
10 G's.
That's the only thing I'm worried about is biking. So I'm going to really focus on that for the next month. Biking and swimming. And then I'm just going to slowly build up mileage, and I kind of just focus on hours on the bike. That's kind of it's how it is in my Strava, so I can just tell how many hours of training I'm doing. So slowly build up hours, and then last couple of weeks do a little taper. Next 2 weeks are going to be huge weeks for me.
Well, I'm definitely down to ride the bike with you. I probably won't be able to keep up. I got like a $150 mountain bike.
Yeah, my bike's a road bike, so it'll be quite a bit faster. But
yeah, but I know how it sucks training alone all the time. Like, It's good for like
Yeah.
motivation with other people.
I kind of like it.
I do like it, but then like
I like jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu's for community, and then I don't know. Like I'll go to the
every
gym.
so
I'll go to the
often.
gym and stuff, and like I honestly don't even. I'll lift with other people, but I prefer lifting alone. I'm just most productive that way. And same thing with like, you know,
Yeah, I feel
endurance
that way
training and
too.
stuff. It is cool to train with people and like have that community too. So
Kinetics Run Club, baby.
yeah,
Starting soon.
start the run
Pull
club up. And it's been cool to see over the last year that I've been doing this endurance training, kind of like putting myself out there, to see all these other people kind of like pick up on it and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I kind of want to try that.
Dude, that's why
And-
I got into it.
And yeah, like that's what I'm saying. And you know, they're coming to me with like questions, and I'm trying to help them out. And it's just a good time. And I've ran with some people too, a few kids from ROTC. And it's a good thing, I think. You know, and marathon's no joke to train for.
bet.
Seeing people do marathons, it's like wow, that's like impressive. I was terrified of running my first marathon, so
Please, no joke. 26 miles.
sorry.
What were we saying?
Any competitions coming up?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get a super fight pretty soon in August in Pittsburgh. I'm pretty sure.
Still don't have an opponent.
Nope. Looking for opponent. Blue belt or purple belt or brown belt.
Yeah, that'll be sick. We'll have to train for that.
Yeah,
Train hard.
you have to come and sit in the corner. Down for that.
Yeah. All right. Got anything else?
Not that I could think about right now. You got anything?
No. All right. That concludes the pod.
See you next time. Dude, that was